Okay, well, now's the time to test this.
I think we are
And
live.
I think we are. Let me just double check that everything is working, given that we haven't done this in a while. But this says streaming. So this all seems like it's working well.
Yes, we are live.
Yeah, did you check that it's live on LinkedIn as well?
LinkedIn, let me check that too.
Yeah, because I can't see. Oh yeah, I can see it. We are.
Yes.
Look at us go. Okay, wow. Like, don't do this for how long have you not done this? For a while.
It's more than 6 months.
Don't do this for 6 months, and you're just like, how does this technology even work anymore?
True.
But yeah, I'm quite excited to be back with you on our AI Academics podcast. And why don't we roll the intro? I haven't done that in a while.
Hey friends, welcome to the AI Academics podcast. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Leonard Nacke. This is the show where my co-host Vuga Ibrahimov and I geek out about the latest AI developments without getting too scientific. We want to be your spot for AI insights that actually matter. So grab a coffee, tune in, and let's chat about why AI isn't the job-stealing monster that everyone thinks.
It's supposed to say it is. I don't know why it always cuts it off.
It is.
We're just like, okay. But yeah, so thanks so much for tuning in for this live stream from us about today. We're asking about what are skills and what can we do with skills. And this doesn't actually include skills in the general sense, although, you know, you kind of got to ask yourself these days with all of the AI things that are happening, like, do skills even still matter? And I do think that is something to think about as we are navigating this landscape of different AI tools. Now, most of you might not remember this. Vuga and I, we have definitely chatted about AI in work and different AI skills for quite a while as part of the AI Academics, which is our podcast here. And one of the things that today we were quite interested in trying out is specifically seeing what actually goes into building a skill file in the environments of Claude and Codex, as well as anti-gravity. Because Vuga and I were chatting about this, and Vuga, you know, we talked about this before, that these days, the graduation that happens from a lot of people that are working with AI is generally one where you go from asking a simple question about a matter-of-fact thing, or like going through some sort of tutorial, towards understanding how I can automate a task and how I can automate a job on my hard drive. And specifically also with this understanding that's happening with folks that are interested in AI, that are now seeing, okay, you know, as part of building AI automations and AI interactions, we don't want to share all of the data in the cloud all the time. And if a lot of people are starting to realize, if you're opening a chat window, you're basically in the cloud and your stuff gets uploaded and you have to like interact with that in the browser. And this is sort of the normal interaction that happens with most folks that just get started with AI. And then over time, you're graduating to a dedicated tool, and each of the major LLMs has a tool like that available. And a lot of the times it scares people away. And I think Claude did the best job in making that tool very accessible, and we'll have a look at that in a second. Actually, why don't we look at that right now, since we are already chatting about it. So let me just open that up, which is our regular Claude tool that a lot of you are familiar with. If you've installed it, you can go to, I think it's claude.ai/download, and you'll be able to download the Claude tool, and you'll be used to just seeing the chat window here. And oh yeah, this is a new thing where basically now you can ask it to visualize, and this was like how compound interest works, and then it will visualize it. Now, unfortunately, I tapped out of it, and I'd have to retry it here. And this is a feature I think that just rolled out today, where now Claude adds these little visualization components inside of your answer, and just kind of helps you see things, and like builds these little artifacts that help you play around with a concept, and just kind of makes it more interactive as you're trying to get an explanation of something. And I think that's like a really nice feature here, that really we don't have to or we don't see that a lot of the times. But here it's just a nice thing that you see, okay, so what happens if I change the principal? What happens if I change the annual rate? And these are the kind of calculators that you would find on a finance website from your bank. For example, you'd have these simple calculators that just show you, okay, so how does compounding work over the years if you're changing the rates that you have available? And it just visualizes everything for you quite nicely, and it breaks down the math and everything. Such a cool new feature. So I really, I'm enjoying that quite a bit. But then we also now have co-work. And so co-work is something that runs locally. It's kind of a hybrid between Claude Code and Claude Chat. And it's also kind of nice how they named the different things here quite conveniently. Also have this little icon for Claude Code. Now, Claude Code, of course, those of you that have been using this for years might know that this is something that you can also do in the terminal. And this is how most people have started out. They've used this in a terminal and done the interactions with Claude Code in that terminal. And yeah, this is something I think that for people that don't use the terminal is something that they're just much more familiar with, that they can just choose a folder here, and then inside of that folder they could run basically a command line Claude command to do certain things. And that's really the main unlock, and I think the main interesting thing for a lot of folks that are just like new to that and don't know that yet. Just a quick reminder, this is a live stream. That means as an audience, you can participate. You can pop your questions into the comment boxes. And I think we're getting that from YouTube and LinkedIn, and it should stream right into our streaming studio here. We haven't used it in a while, so we're hoping everything works out. But definitely send us your QA, and as they pop up, we'll try to answer them on the stream. Otherwise, of course, we will jump over to the platforms after, and we will answer your questions there. But feel free to say hello, say hi, tell us where you're at, and from what country or place you're joining us here. We'd love to hear from you. So thanks so much for considering that. Now back to the difference here between graduating from chat to co-work to code. And the interesting thing I think that we talked about earlier is also that now we have the option to click customize, and customize allows you to create new skills, which is what we want to talk about today, or connect your tools, or to browse existing plugins. Now, plugins is basically a collection of skills that becomes available, or that you can also make available yourself if you wanted to create something like this, just by building a folder together with several skills, and that you can then deploy as a plugin. But you can connect a lot of different tools. You can see some of the tools that I have installed here. There's obviously a list of feature tools that they have, and I can actually walk you through today to how I created a Gamma skill, if you're interested. Now, Gamma is an app that lets you create presentations right from the command line. It's kind of a cool little trick there. And just kind of work.
Yeah, I for today suggest let us do like the broad coverage, or almost so what we want to talk about. Maybe you can do details, but maybe upcoming sessions, each session we can dedicate to each of these plugins, or each of, not maybe only one, but maybe for upcoming sessions we can cover 2 plugins or 3 plugins in one session.
Or skill, like today is just skills. So a plugin is a little bit more work, because you would have to like bundle the skills together and get it all done. And yeah, so skills are a little bit better. And you might have also noticed that now you can actually schedule tasks here, which is basically running a cron job, for those of you that are familiar with programming language. So now it's actually quite easy to say, okay, on a certain folder, I want to run a daily task on that folder. And so once you've built a skill, you can run that skill on that folder every day. And this doesn't necessarily just need to happen on a folder, but the way that Code and Cowork both work is they work with your file system. So whatever you tell the AI to do, it'll actually write a file to your file system, and then you can access that file later. The preferred file format for a lot of these is Markdown, so a .md file. The tool that a lot of people are turning to these days is Obsidian, as it makes it really easy to work with Markdown files, and it is actually completely free. The tool that I recommend in addition to Obsidian, which really just gives you access to the Markdown files, is actually Anti-Gravity that comes in from Google. And the interesting thing is you can run Anti-Gravity in, or you can run a Claude command line in Anti-Gravity, which is kind of fascinating because then you can be in your folder and you can open files in your folder and run a Claude Code command as well as a Gemini command, or a Anti-Gravity command in that same folder. So it is kind of nice and useful to do these things. And together with scheduled tasks, it becomes kind of powerful. It goes along the same lines of what you could basically do with ClaudeBot to a degree. I mean, ClaudeBot still has a bunch of, or I guess OpenClaw now, has a bunch of different permissions on your system level that make that even easier. But it's basically just an added cron functionality or a scheduling functionality on top of the functionality that you already know and love from these things. But just quickly here to go back to customize, I do recommend to check out some of the tools and plugins that are available. You can click on all, and then you can literally see hundreds of different tie-ins. One of the ones that, as academics, that we've worked with quite a bit is Consensus. I don't know if it shows up in here, which helps you attract papers. And then there is something, I think, ScholarGate or something like that. I kind of have to find where it is. Actually, why don't you use the search, Leonard? So yeah, Consensus, you can see it here, allows you to explore that. And the other one is called Scholar Gateway. And that's also kind of nice. And then if you're in the medical field, you can have access to PubMed as well. So you can install that as well. And it's basically just one click here and it adds it to it. And then you have the connector available. And if you click on the connector, it will show you a little bit of how to actually use the thing. And you can see here, this is just an MCP URL. That means it's just a connection. Instruction for how to connect with the Model Context Protocol here, with the other AI tool that you want to call or invoke from the command line or from Cowork or the other places. So basically, as we go back from customize. As we go back here, we're still back in our familiar environment where we have Cowork and we have Code, and then we have Chat available. And so one of the things about Cowork that I really like is that basically it gives you the same functionality that you have from Code, but it gives you basically a little bit of a task breakdown as well. So, and you can invoke skills. So just now I clicked on a skill. So these are
before diving this,
skills.
Leonard.
Yeah.
We have, so Ali commented on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
And also we have another question from Simo Hosio.
Yeah.
So maybe we can just highlight them now. So because it is related, the question exactly is about what are skills.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can bring them to the screen now. But
we can't because unfortunately it is not collecting them for some reason. I'm not seeing them in the back end here. But that is okay. I can just click on it manually and I should be able to see this on on the live stream. So let me just open this. So I think what we're seeing here these are old questions, right? Like this is a question that he posted yesterday. So I think, you know, he was clearly asking, you know, like skills in general, right? Like what are skills in general? So I don't think this is a question that actually relates to what we're doing right now. But basically, one of the things that I want to give to the people watching right now is that what a skill does is just like think of it as a mega prompt or a prompt that you've written together with some context information of when to call that prompt. And that's what we're going to look at when we're creating a skill, or when we're looking at the skills that we have created here, how that actually looks like. But what I've done right now here, and this is the kind of demonstration I wanted to do, is I clicked on this prepare a journal entry. And this is a finance skill, right? Like these are plugins that you can actually install directly from Claude. And so the way the workflow is, when you use these plugins, is they walk you through a question sequence first, and they invoke the skill by having a / and then the name of the skill. This is something that you're probably familiar with from Claude Code, because you had these / commands for a while. As you can see, some of these plugins here, like Ralph Wiggum, are basically plugins where you're invoking the thing to just run that specific skill. And you can see my skills. I got the hook writer skill, got style DNA, skill creator, simplifying, security review. Scheduling is now the new skill that you have. And there's also a new skill that's called BTW. And I don't think this is running in this instance yet, but it's definitely running in a terminal command where you can, as you're running some of these commands, you can run something in the meantime. So we're going to try this out. I'm going to just run my hook writer. So this is basically writing hooks for my LinkedIn posts, right? And so in my other articles and stuff. And so we'll just like, Vuger is an awesome guy, and he wants to tell you everything about skills, right? So of course, what you would usually feed it is like a full LinkedIn post or some more information, but we're just going to feed it like minimum information here. And we can actually run this with Sonnet and get pretty decent results. And here we're going to run it on a folder. Now, business has like all of the information about my business, so that should be not a bad folder to run it in, because it has like past posts and everything. It might be able to pick up on other things. And then it asks me, do you want it to allow running it in your folders? Because what it will do, it will just like search within the folder if there's anything interesting here. But first it will consult the hook writer skill, which you can see these skills are usually saved in a .agents folder. And this is also the crux for why it is not so easy to find these skills if you're using a tool like Obsidian, or even just your regular file explorer under Mac, and even under Windows if you're using a Windows Explorer for that, because these dot files are usually hidden folders, right? So they will not show unless you explicitly in your file system permit that they're open, that they're visible. And so this is why I like using anti-gravity for this. So just to give you an example, while this is still working, I just wonder if we should just wait it out, because it's probably going to take like a solid 3 minutes. So basically what's happening right now, because I gave it the / command, which is invoking this skill that is saved under hook writer, it will now read this SKILL.md file, and that's a markdown file basically. So that's just a markdown file that gives us some information about what this thing actually should be doing. And
it can be mostly because maybe it cannot find anything on your files about myself and Leonard.
That is fine, but it might just be like, right now it's going through everything that I've written down there, which is kind of like, okay, here's some piece of content now. Generate the most attractive hook line, understand the pain. From Vuger is an awesome guy. It might have trouble finding the pain here. So it might just like really trying to determine what to write this hook about, because I didn't give it enough information. Again, one of the principles that you know about AI prompting is basically ideally for a good AI prompt, what we want to do is we want to give it a lot of context. The more context, the better, because if we get a lot of context, we get better results. Here, I gave it very little context, so it's definitely wearing. But what I will do while it's doing that,
in
Yep.
your business folder over there, if I may ask, like, do you have your previous hooks or
Yes.
kind of other materials where how to write the best kind of the attractive hook for your posts?
Yeah. So it'll have examples. So this has examples of other hooks I've written, other things I've done. We can actually, let's just
Can
see
you
if,
basically, so here I just think about if we can do with this, can we also do the same thing with with academic articles? Like
yeah,
if
of
you
course.
if you just come up with some ideas, let's say, or
Yeah.
I don't know, you
So what I will do, just real quick, I will share with you how this looks like in anti-gravity. So this beautiful monster that I have open right now is anti-gravity. So anti-gravity scares a lot of people when they open for the first time because it basically looks like Visual Studio Code. Now, if you're a coder, this is nothing scary for you. This is definitely, this is how your regular work environment would look like. And basically here we have like these hook generator instructions. What we have at the beginning is basically what's called a YAML. So this is yet another markup language. So this is just a name and a description that lets us understand what is actually what this hook is actually for. So first, what its name is, and then what it actually does. And in this case, it's writing scroll stoppers, hooks, openers, and so forth. And it gives us, works for any platform and so forth. And so for any type of piece of pane, it finds the core pane. It gives us the key insights, credibility numbers, and signals. In my case, I mean, this is, of course, based on my description. So 150 publications, 30 PhD students supervised, that kind of stuff that I usually write about. And then, the core transformation that we're offering here, you're rewriting every draft to now you have a lab that just runs on cool stuff. Okay, some people are saying they can't hear anything.
I think when you first time open the LinkedIn link or that event there, it is automatically muted. You just need to unmute.
Gotcha. Okay, so you need to unmute it. So you need to click on that little icon in the bottom right corner, which I guess they can't hear right now. So I'm gonna just reply that. Click on the audio icon to enable sound. Okay, posted that. And then basically one of the things here is that we, so here credibility transformation, then scope markers, like what is actually going on. And then, two-line format. And this is like how LinkedIn works, right? Like LinkedIn is always like hook and rehook. So there's always a scroll stopper at the beginning where you have like vivid scenes, the readers lift something bold and really like vivid. And then you have the click driver, which is basically a curiosity gap where you make somebody so curious that they want to click on the rest of the post. Like this is LinkedIn 101. A lot of you that post there know this kind of stuff. And then easy to read, good formatting, short lines, useful idea that benefits the reader. One job. And then I have the different opener types. I don't want to give all my secrets away here, so I'm not going to keep scrolling down, but there's a lot of information in this file. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, we can always work together. This is the time in the video where I pop open my my little commercial.
Don't do that, but tell us how you can basically do this also for academic purposes, not only for writing. The writing hook, if you are active on social media, it's a fantastic thing that you have to. It's how it is. It's how it works. You have to know this. But how you can do that? Can you apply basically the same structure, same principles with the folder where your academic articles or the academic articles from your,
of course,
collective authors you have there? You just run this and you just have kind of ideas, or I don't know, can it deduct like information from the old sources you have on your laptop, on your computer?
100%. Yeah. Let me just hide this thing again and get back into it. So one of the things that you can do, and so I, for example, had consensus. There's some consensus connector skills here, right? So there is something like rapid literature scan, where we're just asking the user for a topic and then we're telling it to use the consensus connector. And these are connector skills. So basically, whenever you have a skill that you want people to work with, in terms of not people. When you have a skill that you want to work with a connector, you just invoke that specific connector in that specific skill. So in this case, we would invoke a rapid literature scan that says, retrieve 15 peer-reviewed papers, synthesize dominant findings, identify the gaps. This is great when you're starting a new project and you just want to get started. So then all you got to do is ask the user for a topic. User will pop in a topic and it will run a rapid literature review and return 15 results using the consensus skill, and then writes a 200-word synthesis for the 3 dominant finding and just gives you a beautiful result, which is just a really nice way to get started with the literature review, for example. There, of course, there's other skills. There is also usually what we call reference files. So there's a folder called references, and that folder is usually where you store extra markdown files. Now, for a skill to be super effective, you want to make sure that not all of the information sits in that one SKILL.md file, but that you also reference other files that are in the references folder. And that just makes this whole thing a little bit easier to work with. So here's an example. Let's just go into this one. This is a UX design systems documentation skill. Basically writes the design system documentation, asks for certain tools. So it just kind of makes sure at the beginning it checks, okay, does it have file system access? What's the execution flow? And this is in every skill. A good skill is basically a step-by-step instruction that just kind of walks you through, first do this, then do this. And then at the end, you have a rules section. This is like the core thing. So basically, a good skill will always have, here's a goal, here's some tools, here's the execution flow that you should follow for getting the skill done. Basically, pretty similar to a good prompt structure, right? And then at the end, rules. And so the interesting thing as you're working with skills and as you're trying to improve skills over time is that you could also, in your prompt, now once you're invoking the skill, in your prompt, you could say, hey, as you're going through these, as you're using the skill and as you're seeing the rules and they're being violated, let me know about this and append new rules that make this much better based on our interaction in this chat here. And then what Claude, or again, you can do this in Gemini or Codex as well, what they will do is basically amend that skill, right? Like, and that is where the power of a lot of this stuff lies. And in this case, what it does is it looks, so here for tools required, it looks at, and this is what I really wanted to talk about, it looks at the other documents that need to be available. So we got the accessibility baseline standards here, we got the design system component guidelines here, and this kind of needs, of course, to be filled out specifically for your design system. And here is, UX writing guidelines specifically. Okay, you need to avoid technical jargon or system error codes, never use tooltips for essential information required to complete a task, stuff like that. So these would be UX writing guidelines that I would then feed that skill as additional information, and that I would then reference in the actual skill.
So Leonard, let me break you here. So interrupt you here. So I would say, so I tested also this is amazing, but let's cover this in our other session. Let's go back to Claude, I would suggest.
Okay.
So concentrate on the Claude skills, maybe, because I think some might find this a little bit scary, as you said. When I saw this for the first time too, so anti-gravity, how you call it. So this is definitely very good. You can build many good things with this. I think we should definitely cover it in our special session dedicated to this, how you can even starting from the scratch. I think that would be even better, because it's a little bit different. It functions in a totally different way. It's not just a chat box or search bar. You just open it and then start typing. So let's go back to, I think.
But it is, just for your information, the way I'm using it. So I'm not even using so anti-gravity is on the right here, where I would then, I can prompt all the models, and of course I would prompt Gemini. And then I could run something here with those skills. And then on the bottom, I could even open a command line, other things. I could just like put the windows together. What it is right now is basically on the left side here is just a file explorer. Whoops, I moved something. Shouldn't have done that. And on the middle side is a document explorer. So here, this is just the markdown file open. That's what it is. So this is just a black background for a markdown file. And a markdown file, the structure is really just markdown syntax. So those unfamiliar with that, it's very simple to learn. It's really just you have these hashes that outline the different levels of a header. And then you have the bullet points here. And that's already most of what you need. Like, sure, there's annotations for links and other stuff that you can learn. But that's really the main stuff for a markdown file. It's just like a little bit more structure than what you would have if you just have a general text file. Of course, you can get started with a text file too, but this is just a simple way to get started in the first place. Now, luckily, our Vugar headline has cooked in Claude, and we can. Can't share the screen. What is going on? Okay, let me just see if I can stop and change this to window share. Hopefully now it'll come back. Had some issues here. Yeah, and we're back. Okay. So this is our wonderful hook writer doing. Vugar is an awesome guy, and he wants to tell you everything about skills. And now he's going to write, or he did, it did write the LinkedIn hook for it. All right. So you have raw material extraction. This is how my hook writer works. Basically, core pain, skill gaps persist without a clear roadmap or knowledge guide. Vugar is the guide. Vugar holds a complete transferable map of how skills work. I'm going to share all of it today. And then implicit, because you're awesome and he knows everything. So no hard numbers, which is bad because we want explicit credibility.
I wish I could.
I mean, I could have provided that in the prompt, right? Like, it's basically whatever comes out of the prompt is what it gets here. And then the transformation is that you're becoming, you're getting a guided structured framework. And then the scope marker here, which is, it's everything about skills, a comprehensive resource. So it's not just a tip or a teaser, but you're learning all that is to learn about skills. And then it goes through my different phases where it fits, it checks casual, core, and new audiences and stuff like that. This is just basic YouTube stuff on how you create different levers. And here then it generates some hooks based on different copywriting frameworks. And so I like these extreme ones. Skills aren't luck. Vugar proves it. He's sharing everything, no holding back. Now, would you click that? I'd probably click it. Or most experts hold. This is what you see on LinkedIn all the time. It's such a joke these days. What goes on LinkedIn as content these days? But it's like just look at the stuff that we're posting every day. It's like, okay, most people do X. So most people extreme statement. It's just like the most overused hook. I use it too. Okay, I'm guilty. Judge me. But it is one of the most overused hooks that you get there. And we just had a question pop in before I keep going. So Mohammed just asked, where do you store all of your SKILL.md files? And this is an interesting question. So it's actually a really interesting question as we're working between what now is code. So as you can see, now we're in code. And as you can see here on the bottom, I have selected a folder. Now this is my business folder. If you are in Cowork, you're also selecting a folder. If you are in chat, you're in the cloud. So a skill that you have created in Cowork or code that you have created in a specific folder will sit in that specific folder unless you told Claude to create that as a global skill, and then it will sit in your .claude file or in your .claude folder, and it will go drill down in the skills folder. But basically, there's a .agents/skills folder in which you will find a lot of your skills. And the nice thing is, so a lot of the times you also find a .claude folder, but if you're using Gemini or other things, a .agents folder makes more sense. Because it'll just find it in the .agents folder. Otherwise, it'll be in a .claude folder. But the interesting thing is you can also have project-specific skills. So if you have a project-specific skill, you can also just run the skill in your sub project, wherever you're doing the thing, and it will just sit there in that sub project and become available. Now, the thing to keep in mind there with the skills.md file is that if you've created one locally that just sits on code or cowork in your local project folder, you don't automatically have that file available in Claude Chat. And this is kind of tricky, because then if we're going to customize, and
which is sometimes might be good. You just want to keep it on your local machine and just use it on cowork, which is totally fine.
I mean, like I said, this is like how I do most of my AI stuff, is just like local stuff, just running locally on the machine, and just like toying around with the MD files, because you can edit it, you can like work with it. What you usually upload into skills here on Claude is a .skill file. Now, a .skill file, all that it is basically a zip file. It's just a different name for a zip file. And it's a file where skills.md is in that file. And then you are using the you're using the subfolder. Usually it's a reference, a subfolder, and the other markdown files that you're referencing from that skills.md file, all packaged up in that zip file. So it all becomes available in that zip file, which then you can just click on this little plus button, and you can either write skill instructions or create with Claude, or just hit upload. And then you can just drag and drop the .skill file, as you can see here, .zip or .skill files. So you don't even need to rename it to a .skill file. You can just rename it or not rename it at all, and just run it as a zip file uploaded here, and it's all good. Now, when do you need zip files? Really only if you have what I said earlier, if you have this nice program structure. A lot of you will just start with one skill.md file. But once you start doing it, you start feeding it project documentation, brand voices, project background, writing guidelines, other instructions, reference lists, bibliographies, stuff like that. Then you will want these in separate files that you will just reference from that main skill.md file. And that's, where things get really powerful. And before that, you will probably just upload a skill.md file and just have it in a single file. Again, this is kind of graduating levels of difficulty, where you start with a very simple skill.md file, and that's good for the first couple of days. But then once you start getting really into it, you probably want more files, and then you'll just zip it up in a folder and upload it here, and it's no problem. And what you get from the YAML, from this top matter of the file, is basically up here, where it shows you where it was updated. It shows you the description of the thing, and then just shows you how that whole thing runs. And then you can even look at the code. The thing is, though, now you can edit it inline, or you can edit it with Claude. But when they started, it was really hard to edit it, and then you always had to chat with it. Now you can actually edit it inline, which is nice. It's just kind of a safer way to do all of the editing, and that definitely gives you some advantages there. So I think it's not too bad. But yeah, that's basically the thing. So you want to upload it if you want to actually use it in Claude Chat, if you're still a chat person. Otherwise, it makes much more sense to have localized skills in your localized project folders. It's just a different thinking level, that you're going from, okay, I'm thinking of it as just a chat interface where I'm just chatting with the interface, to now I'm using it in my file explorer, and it's basically in a project folder that sits on my hard drive, and you're thinking in folders again, right? So you're thinking in this as in okay, this is a folder and a subfolder, and this is kind of how stuff runs there. Preference, I guess, really what you like more, and what the benefit here is. Now, unfortunately, our results just disappeared. Where did they go? Active. Okay. Archived. No. Okay.
So this is
here's our file. Right, and so here, one of the things. Hook writer. Vuger is an awesome guy, and he wants to tell you everything about skills. It went through all the formats, and then it spit out the hooks. Now, as you can see, they're all long enough for LinkedIn, so all 55 characters long, which is the kind of format you want to do on LinkedIn. And then we have the copywriting frameworks like AIDA or PASS. We've talked about these before. If anyone's doing sales and copywriting conversion stuff, you're probably familiar with those. But yeah, here it's you want real skill, not just theory. Vuger map everything that builds it. Kind of cool, Vuger. you're one framework away from clarity. So again, it's just like fear of missing out right there. Google built it. Here's the whole thing, and just kind of delivers it. And then, the before-after bridge, emotional hooks, result hooks, Vuga. And now result hooks would be interesting if we fed it like more details, because it would be like, okay, Vuga spent exactly 15 years doing this thing, and now he's compressing it all into this very, very short period of time for you to get the answer. This is like a mini LinkedIn masterclass. I mean, it works on Twitter too. It works on any social media. It's kind of simple. But yeah, and here's like, if it's client focused, Vuga helped some close 4 skill gaps. Here's the framework. Idea, every skill has a hidden architecture. So this is like secret, like, okay, we don't know what it is. Vuga mapped it, all of it. And yeah, it goes through all of these things. Then I have an audit. So most of my prompts usually have an audit there that kind of check, okay, this is the kind of stuff. Is it scroll stopping? What kind of insights does it have? Does it have the patterns that I want? And then I ask it to do a ranking. And then it gives me basically the top 5. And here, basically, hook 1 is escalation, compressed ratio, pushed further. So I asked Vuga one question. He filled a notebook. Here's everything in that notebook. Why that works well is because it starts with one question. And then it's basically, it shows us, we asked you a very simple thing, but because you filled that notebook, what that gives to the reader is basically, the reader's just like, he knows so much more than the thing Leonard asked him to do. So clearly, Vuga is an expert. This is like implied competence that we're getting out of this one sentence. And then the next sentence is, here's everything in that notebook. It's just like, I'm giving it to you away for free. I would click that, right? Like right there. You can see
Leonard,
I obsess a lot about copywriting.
I have a question
Okay,
here for
anyway,
you.
yeah. Yes.
So, how do you think the titles of the academic articles affect the readability, affect the attract the readers to open that academic article? And can the same workflow be used to come up with very catchy, let's say, titles for your papers?
100%. So I did actually, wait, is my QR code still on? Yeah. So QR code is still, maybe I'll just close this for a second here.
I see your QR code that right inside.
Yeah. So QR code is still up. So for folks that are interested in that, definitely check out my newsletter, because I did map all of the different, exactly. I did map all of the different article types, at least in my field in Kai. So I mapped all of those different article types out. And yeah, I've already worked on turning that into a skill. It's not done yet. I'm still like engineering around it. But overthinking, as always. But one of the things that is quite interesting about that is you can feed those formulas. Once you've identified those formulas, you can feed those formulas in a skill, of course. And you could say, okay, so we have the colon, right? Where it's just like, okay, here's a declarative thing before the colon, and then after the colon, we have the explanation thing. This is how most academic articles work. So, and this is true for like any sort of automation that you're doing with AI these days, is that at the beginning, you have to understand the thing that you're trying to do. This is for any sort of skill mapping that you're interested in doing, is basically everything becomes an SOP. And I've written about this before in public, where and you've heard this on the influencer speak as well. People are saying like, you got to treat it like an assistant, but like what they actually mean like is like, it's really an assistant, as in like somebody that is very, very dumb, that you really have to sketch out 1, 2, 3 the different steps of how they need to do something. And that's how AI gets stuff done, right? So an SOP is basically standard operating procedure, is something that if you hire new people, if you've ever hired a team of new people and you had to do that, is something that can take quite a bit of time. So this is the interesting thing when it comes to time savings with AI. So I do think there are time savings, but if you want to get it done really well, at the beginning anyways, there's no time savings, because you're spending a couple of hours writing out these SOPs and making sure that the SOPs actually work, very detailed, work out exactly what needs to be done. And then once you have specified that, so the more time you spend in planning, the better the agent is going to be, the better the skill is going to be. And so you need to spend a lot of time planning and sketching these things out in detail to actually get and understand the different bits and pieces here. And so that's the trick behind it. And then you can write, you can basically write one for everything, anything that you can formalize into a structure is something that you could easily turn into a skill very simply, because all you got to do is do the front matter and get started and get that done. And again, we could even build it with Claude. Like if you wanna do that, we could do that. Okay, let me just open this again. So in Claude, what we would do if we wanted to write our own skill, we invoke it with skill creator. And this basically creates new skills. So /skill creator lets you invoke a new skill. And then you would actually just describe that skill. So in this case here, we would, I just have to open my article real quick because I want to write this title writer skill that we were talking about.
Or maybe if you are using the project function of the Claude, like there, I usually give the instructions. You can basically take those instructions and
absolutely
convert it into the skill too.
100%. So if you use projects in the past and you want to create a skill from a project, all you have to do is take the project instructions as well as drag and drop the project source files that you have, and then just ask it to turn those instructions into a skill, and then it will create that skill for you. And
usually there is also, for each project, there is also memory part of that project where it covers basically everything based on all your conversations within that very specific project. It has memory part, it has instructions where you give those instructions. You can basically just put all of these into these areas and create your own new skill.
Okay.
Where you can use in many areas.
So one of the things, let's do this. So one of the things for those of us that are a bit lazy, okay, hold on. We usually just dictate our instructions, and we have, so I pressed the button too early. So there's a couple of tools that you can use for that. Super Whisper is one I use. I've recently also experimented with Monologue from Every, which is also fantastic. There is Whisperflow, which is the one that people usually recommend, but it is definitely one that is quite expensive. So Super Whisper was one that had a lifetime license. I don't know if they still have that. So that was sort of the cheapest deal I could get. And then what we'll do is we'll just tell it what to do. So just hold on as I'm trying to put my dictation voice on here and instruct it. I want to create a skill that creates catchy paper titles for an article that I will feed you. I have identified different paper titles that are catchy. The first one is a colon combo. The way it works in a pattern is that it has a main title, then a colon, then a subtitle. Here's an example of that title: Computing and the Stigmatized, colon, Trust, Surveillance, and Spatial Politics with Sex Workers in Bangladesh. This is an actual paper title. The second pattern is bold statements. This is a declarative sentence that summarizes your findings. As an example, constrained highlighting in a document reader can improve reading comprehension. This is straight to the point, no fluff. The third title pattern that I've identified is Curiosity Sparks, which is a question that your research will answer. Here's an example. Apple's Knowledge Navigator, why doesn't that conversational agent exist yet? ? So this is less common, but when it's done well, it can be incredibly effective. The fourth title pattern that I've identified is called gerund gymnastics. This starts with a gerund, an ing verb, to emphasize process. Here's an example. Designing for harm reduction, communication repair for multicultural users' voice interactions. The fifth pattern I've identified is concise concepts, which is a short noun phrase that encapsulates your topic. Here's an example. Cosmovision of data, an indigenous approach to technologies for self-determination. As you can see, this is also an example of a colon combo, as most of these examples are colon combos. The sixth pattern I've identified are acronym artifacts. These are specifically popular in HCI. So here you design an artifact or a system with an acronym before the colon, like Dynavis, dynamically synthesized UI widgets for visualizing editing. And then the seventh one that I've identified are journey mappers, who are basically taking us through a from X to Y structure. So here's an example: from disorientation to harmony, auto-ethnographic insights into transformative video game experiences. And these are all the column titles or all the paper titles that I want you to generate. So all of these options need to be generated when I feed you an abstract or an article. So create the skill now. So
that is super command over there.
Those are yeah, exactly. So now we need to wait for the AI to transcribe, and this can usually take a little bit of time.
So the Super Whisper, is it better, any better, like if you just dictate on ChatGPT and it can?
Yeah, it's better because it works across all of the different things, right? Like Super Whisper will just plug into whatever app you're working in. So now I just dictate my emails basically, right? And you just hold a button on your keyboard and it just works. And as you can see here, like it's pretty accurate. I didn't even flip up once with my accent, and you get this accurate transcript. And it's just like a faster way to run your prompts. And then you hit this, and then it gets clouding and it gets to work, and it will create the skill for us now. And then we'll probably have to do some follow-up testing and some other questions here. But I see we just got a question, so I want to just make sure that we answer that as well. This is coming from Eric Weiser, who is asking, could a skills file be used to define a research workflow, such as extracting effect sizes from papers and running a simple meta-analysis? So a simple meta-analysis is kind of hard because a lot of the times there's more to it, right? Like there's a little bit more detail. What it will definitely do, it will create a Python script that will extract effect sizes from paper. So this is definitely something it can do. And so I mean, it's worth trying. You could try to write this as a skill. I wonder if it will then actually save the Python file, or will sort of save something like that and have that ready for you instead of having to write the file every time you invoke the skill. So I guess my definitive answer to that would be, it might be better to even vibe code a simple command line utility with Claude Code and just tell it to, I want to create a simple command line utility that extracts effect sizes from papers because I want to run a simple meta-analysis, and it will create that as a command line utility for you that you can run every time. It might be more efficient just in terms of token use to do something like that than to put it in a skill, because the skill, I'd have to check it though, right? I have to check if it creates it every time. But I would assume the skill would probably then create that that help file every time, because a lot of the times the way that LLMs work, they just need to chunk the information, and so they usually create some helper scripts to help them chunk through it. And by the way, this is kind of a nice feature. Whenever you run something on a local file, you then just have to allow it for that session. You kind of have to say, okay, I just want to only allow this for one session. This is kind of where I want to get this thing up and running. Okay, so while this is brewing in the background, I think this is one of the interesting things that come from skill use, is that, yeah, basically as you find yourself prompting something over and over to the AI, where you're saying, okay, this is something that I would like to do several times, and it's a very small task. At the beginning, when I started doing that, I started using text expanders, which are nice tools where you basically have a keyboard shortcut command and it will just write out the same thing over and over again. If you ever done like comments or other things or certain emails that are repetitive, then yeah, this is like a nice way to automate some of these things from your end, and just kind of makes it really easier to do these automation tasks. And what I would recommend in that case is to write it out once, write it out in a markdown file. Again, I use Obsidian for this, a lot of this stuff. It's just so easy to create markdown files with it. I would just create it all in a markdown file, and then I would tell Claude to use that markdown file as the instructions for creating that skill in the first place, just kind of like what I've dictated right now. Even that, again, the more context, the better. Even that, knowing that kind of stuff will help the skill creator create a good skill. But what I recommend the most for creating a good skill that lasts is to be able to A/B test that skill after you're done with it. So now the updated skill creator actually has a functionality where you can do some A/B testing, and we'll see if Claude gets done with this thing fast enough. that we can actually attempt to do some A/B testing here, because this is what's happening. Okay, we have a result here, so let me just switch that on again. All right, so what you can see here, it has even done some testing. Okay, so look at this. So the new skill creator is awesome because it will basically create the skill, but then it will immediately run test cases to test out if the skill works. So this is built into Claude since, I think, this week. And basically 3 test cases. So here's a pure qualitative paper about dark patterns in older adults. Here's a systems paper with a real acronym, PRISM, that tests patterns. And here's an orthoethnographic longitudinal paper. And it just kind of has these different abstracts that it scraped from somewhere, or maybe it hallucinated them. But basically just runs an abstract the way an abstract would look like, and then runs the skill on that abstract and sees if it can extract all the important elements. In this case, yeah, dark patterns in UI design. And it's funny because where would it get that information? It's drawing from my own research. Yeah. Okay, Claude, I see what you're doing there. Anyways, so then it extracts all the important information to run the title, and then it will generate the titles. So here's the colon combo, resisting the dark pattern, how older adults develop coping strategies against deceptive UI design. I would read that paper. Agent deception, 3 vulnerabilities, and 5 coping strategies. That is to social media. I would not write that paper. That is too catchy for a research paper. So again, the interesting thing is, and this is so important when you're doing these interactions with AI, like it can help you get you like 80-90% of the way there, and it's beautiful. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're using any of that stuff to write better paper titles or like write different things, you have to have the taste and select. So a good AI prompt will give you options to choose from, just like a good intern would produce a bunch of different things to choose from. And then your personal taste and your understanding of the field and your understanding of what works and doesn't work is still the key to actually creating useful and good output with it. Because, you know, if I just had a prompt or a skill that it would just like, you pick the best thing. So what I often do, as you could see in the hook writer, is I will have it rank the hooks and say like, okay, based on your impression of this, rank the hooks based on these criteria or whatever. And it then will rank the hooks. But I still want to see 5-6 different options, because at the end of the day, even if it does a pre-ranking for me, and sure, that will bias my decision maybe, I will still be the one that makes that final call and says, okay, this is the kind of output that I'm looking for here, right? And so that's kind of cool. So yeah, if we're looking at this, it did a pretty good job in getting all of these things in there. Dark pattern vulnerability in older adults clusters into 3 distinct mechanisms. Actually pretty good. I don't really like these curiosity spark titles. I know that some papers do well with that, and I think like some journals really work with like a big research question in the title. I'm not really one for those. I guess I'm more of a classic. So I would usually go with like a colon combo, or maybe a bold statement, or a concise concept, right? Like, because here you have the colon combos as well. Strategic, resistance, older adults, dark patterns, the limits of deceptive design. That almost sounds like a review paper. Again, you got to also like know, what is my paper delivering? And here it's smart enough to understand, okay, the paper actually didn't present an artifact, so we can't give it an artifact title. Good job, Claude. You identified that's not impossible. And Journey Mapper, this has become like really popular in Kai, I think a couple of years ago, that I saw all these best papers winning with these Journey Mapper titles, where it's like from A to B, from vulnerability to strategy, how older adults develop resistance to deceptive UI design. Actually not bad. I probably read it. But yeah, it's quite interesting. And then here it gives you the recommendation. Strongest paper is in the paper title is in the bold statement. Is it? I don't see any bold statement. Specifically, option 1, older adults actively resist dark patterns through organically developed coping strategies. So it will give you a ranking automatically, I guess, kind of baked into the system here. And then the colon combo designed to deceive. I actually like this because it's alliteration, designed to deceive. Vulnerability and resistance in older adults encounters with dark patterns. That's a good paper title. I would go with colon combo too. I'd probably publish that. And then systems paper PRISM. This is, again, the abstract that it pulls from, and then it will be, okay, what's the core topic here? What does it do? And then we'll generate the titles. So here, PRISM, a mixed initiative tool for AI-augmented systematic review synthesis. Cool. Create all these different things. And then it will say option 2, PRISM, reducing time to synthesis in academic literature reviews. So it's this one, the acronym artifact. And this makes sense because this is more of an acronym paper where you would actually like write it with an acronym artifact. Makes sense. And then here, autoethnographic longitudinal platform literacy. Yeah, that's actually interesting. Algorithmic self-awareness. These are papers I kind of want to write, to be honest. Just like, where do these come from? Are these papers that I got to check if these are actually real papers? But yeah, kind of looks good. Algorithmic self-awareness. It goes through the things. Yeah, and it's looking pretty good. So the 3 test cases, it gives you a little report on its testing that it ran. Acronym artifact correctly returns NA. Yeah, so it did testing properly, acceptable, slightly forced. So this is interesting because like when people are like, AI is absolutely no taste. I can tell you like Claude definitely has taste, specifically if you run it in a local subdirectory that's filled with information about your own taste. It will definitely pull from that information to give you recommendations. So this is definitely my experience with it is that, yeah, like people saying it has no taste, there's definitely some sort of taste markers here that haven't been present in the past. So this is definitely something that specifically with Sonnet and Opus 4.6 is definitely something that you can notice in there. But again, it doesn't change that you're still the judgment person. You still need to bring in your own taste and make a decision. But it is interesting to now have a little bit more of an opinionated assistant on your side. And, that's definitely something to think about. All right. And that kind of sums it up for us. We're at the hour. And I think this went pretty deep dive, Ugur.
This is a master class, I would say.
Should have charged for it. What did we do? Okay, anyways.
So by the way, maybe we can announce that we are right now cooking something very good, and we'll announce when it is ready. Yeah. And this will definitely include even more what you have seen today. And I think the Claude is right now is my go-to tool for almost everything, and
100%.
And it's upgraded so much. I even tried to cancel my ChatGPT account. By the way, he gave me 1 month free, but I am still lingering over there. But
it's tricky, but it's definitely. I think at this point and we haven't even looked into Codex because Codex is still pretty good.
It is for me. It's like a frog leap. Like at a time, one of these front runners is doing better certain tasks in comparison to the other ones, like the Claude, Gemini, and all this. At some point of the year, one of them is always ahead of others, and it changes very quickly. But let's see. The Claude is my also go-to tool, and I think it can be used in many cases. Yeah. If you are a lawyer, if you're a businessman, if you are a marketer, if I don't know, whatever you are, so it can be definitely adapted to your workflow and can create the miracles, I would say. So let's wrap up here.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to mention to folks that are interested, maybe even their fancy got tickled from my copyright excursion here in between. If you're interested in becoming the go-to voice in your field without the hype or hustle, and you're an expert and you feel like you're not heard and you want to learn a little bit more about what it means to grow an audience and impact online, I did that for the past 3 years, I think, where we did this. So this is a free webinar. So if you liked these instructions, but you want to get more training in that regard, please join me for this one. This is next Tuesday that I'm running this private audience. It's not a LinkedIn live stream, so you have to register, but it is completely free, and I'd love to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you Ugur, for getting us to get together again for our podcast.
Yes, we'll be doing that every week if we can. And thank you again for this masterclass, Leonard. Each time, whenever I talk to you, I learn a lot too. But see you next time then.
Yeah, thank you so much. See you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be checking the messages now. And wonderful to have you all here with us for this time.